You are listening to the Bright Life Podcast, all about ways to stay inspired, chase your dreams, and find more gratitude in the highs and lows of the journey. I'm your host, Jessica Johnson. I'm a business owner, a part-time digital nomad, a self-growth junkie, a believer in other big-hearted women, and am all about sharing tips, tricks, lessons learned, and encouragement so we can all live our biggest, brightest lives. You ready? Let's do this. Hello, welcome to the Bright Life Podcast. So happy to have you here. Today I have a spicy topic. It's all about jealousy. Now, jealousy is one of those worst feelings that you can feel, right? It feels icky, it feels gross, you just feel like you're ashamed of feeling it, but then it makes you angry. But really, I've been uncovering these layers behind jealousy for the past few years, and I've gotten really curious about it. And I actually think there's a lot more going on with jealousy than we are traditionally taught. And I think it can actually be a tool that leads you more into your fullest expression of yourself. I think it can point you to your hidden desires, to things you may not even have looked at inside yourself. And in that sense, it can become one of the most fascinating tools that you have. Okay? So I'm going to share a few examples of what I mean, and then maybe it will trigger other ways that you've seen it in your life. And if you think about social media and how much time we all spend on it these days, you can actually start to use social media as your best investigative tool into what you want to create in your life, or what you wish you were more of, or what you fear being more of. Okay, so let's say you see a travel vlogger, right? I've been in this position where you see someone who's taking this amazing trip to Morocco or somewhere super luxurious, and you're like, oh, why do they always get to go on these things or whatnot, right? What I started to do instead of feeling jealousy is I started to get curious. And I started to say, what about this am I jealous of? What about this do I wish I had more of in my life? And I might make a comment like, oh, well, I wish I could just go travel. I wish I could go on a trip to these amazing places, right? And so instead of leaving it there and being like, must be nice for them, I would actually take a step in the direction of that thing that I wanted. And so I might go and think about, well, where would I go if I could choose? And I would go and spend some time researching on Airbnbs or hotels.com, and I would look up a place and get ideas. And then I would say, okay, well, what would it take to save for this trip? Right? Or when could I carve out 1 week at the end of the year to take a trip? And I would take one small action that would get me moving towards a travel. And it wouldn't necessarily be booking the whole trip, right? But it would be an action in that direction. All of a sudden, what I saw shifting is I no longer felt jealous towards her. I started to feel like part of the adventure. I started to feel like I was also getting to go on my trip now, and I started to almost get excited about that ping of jealousy or that little trigger, because it would make me realize something that I actually wanted and maybe wasn't giving to myself or wasn't even aware of until that moment. Okay, so I think the travel one is one that we all see on social media, and we all are working with different budgets, different timelines, different work schedules, but that can be one where instead of letting it defeat you, you start to play with it and dance with it and say, I may not have that trip, or could I? Could I plan that 2 months from now, and could I save $100 a month and be able to afford that trip, right? Or $200 a month, or could I shift my coffee budget, that kind of thing. And that will feel so much more empowering. Maybe another example is there's that laptop lifestyle, right? Like the feeling of being able to work from anywhere, and that must be nice, and whatever it may be. And instead of feeling triggered by that and jealous of that, it's a matter of looking at it like, what's a step I can take in that direction, even if it's a baby step in my life. Because I was in corporate, right? So I know looking at people on laptops, being able to work from anywhere, being their own boss, I know that feeling. And so you could start taking a course in the evenings, right? You could invest in a small training online that gives you the steps to move in the right direction. You could start to explore, like maybe you spend an hour of a brainstorming session, you make a vision board, and at least you're like, one day, 5 years from now, or 1 year from now, this is what my life's going to look like. And you don't have to think about it past that night, right? Like that's your only thing you have to do for that one step. But that alone will probably spark some kind of momentum in you and some kind of opportunity in your brain that's going to start watching for, and you're going to start getting excited about it, and you're going to start seeing possibilities and ways you could have more of that thing, right? And then you can start to look at that jealousy as a gift, as inspiration for your next step, as an idea of something that you maybe hadn't even realized you desired and you wanted in your life. And you, by the way, can create. It just might feel so far right now that it feels frustrating, right? And so that's why there's magic in this small, tiny step. If you can just take one action, even if it's a little one, in the direction of that desire, you will notice that jealousy lessen, and you will start to feel inspired and excited, and almost like you are on the same team as this person. Like you're part of this adventure together in some way, because you have this secret that you're like both pursuing in your different parts of your life, right? In different seasons. Maybe it's even something like you see someone on social media and you're like, man, they are so like loud. They talk about themselves all the time. Well, maybe look at your jealousy and say, is there a part of me that wishes that I could be so bold? That wishes I could share my ideas like that? That wishes I could tell the world what I'm up to, right? And I would challenge you to look at a baby step you can take around that. Can you share something amazing you did this month? Can you go write a post with 3 tips to let people know how badass you are in whatever your area of expertise is? Can you share a vulnerable part of your story and actually do it and see the reaction from people, right? Because I guarantee you, as soon as you do that, you are going to get a different response from people. So that's going to feel good. You are going to have stepped into and embodied a little bit more of something deep inside you that really wants to come out. And you're going to feel a little more free and electric and inspired, knowing that you too can have that thing and you just got a little bit closer to it. The other really important thing to remember is we are all in different seasons of our journey. So many people that have that thing that we want, they're just a few years ahead of us on that particular path. It's not like they have done something so special. Sure, there's always going to be the person that got the hand out or the leg up or whatever. But for the most part, the people that are out there doing these crazy things happen to just get the call a little earlier in their life, in their journey, happen to work through their fears a little bit sooner, right? Not like saying you're behind, but just that at a different point in their life, they felt called towards something and they were almost initiated on this journey of going for it, right? They worked through their fears, they took the leap, they started moving in the direction, and that snowball began. So just remember that you can also have the same thing happen to you by taking the same actions they've taken, and your results in your life will look different. But that's part of the magic. It could look better for your particular life and passion and experiences and desires, right? But I think there's really just this magic in one, feeling the feeling of jealousy, and instead of interpreting it as a bad thing or a negative, of saying, what part of this do I wish I had? What part of this do I feel like must be nice? And 2, taking a baby step in that direction, in doing that thing, and experiencing that in your life, in planning for it, in even dreaming of it and allowing yourself to, right? And I just think that 3, that begets its own momentum and emotion. And every time that keeps coming up for you, it's really just pointing you to another part of yourself that you either haven't seen before, you haven't given fresh air to, you haven't given breathing room for it to grow and experience itself. And so I just really think in that way, jealousy, it's such a gift, and it's almost this, it unlocks like this hidden room of desires you maybe even hadn't realized because you didn't feel like you were safe to look at them, right? It's a gift. So I know that jealousy can be so charged, but I hope this gives you another perspective, as it has for me, of how to look at it and be inspired by it and get curious and curate this life and lean into this life fueled by your desires and fueled by the things you see in others that inspire you. And instead of looking at it like you can't have that thing, you will start to shift your perspective to saying, wow, amazing that they get to have that thing. I can too. What am I going to do about it today? Right? So let me know if this strikes a chord for you. I'd love to hear what comes up. If it makes you like angry, if you're like, no, that's not it, or if there is part of it that resonates with you. Take what works, leave the rest, but I would be very curious to hear what comes up for you. So thank you so much for being here, and let me know what desire you realize through listening to this or the next time you scroll, and we will all take action together, because bit by bit, step by step, we can build this life of our dreams, and jealousy may just be a gift along that path to help you and to help me to do so. If this episode resonated with you, I have something you are going to love. As you may know, part of what helps me create my own version of my brightest life is copywriting and content marketing. Building a content business helped me replace and surpass my corporate income, to see the world while working from anywhere, and to choose clients that light me up every single day. If you're at all curious about doing the same, I have broken it down for you in a copywriting starter kit, all the beginning steps you need to build your own profitable freelance business. I will link it in the show notes, so definitely check it out if you're interested. Thank you so much for being here, and I will chat with you next Thursday.